Chargers. Touchdown, UCLA.
With USC great and NFL stud, Frostee Rucker.
The Trojans back in front.
And LAFB founder Ryan Dyrud on the Believe Podcast Network and LAFBnetwork.com. This is your destination for Los Angeles football.
What's up, Los Angeles, and welcome into another edition of the LA Football Podcast here on the Believe Podcast Network. Always on the LA Football Network, LAFBnetwork.com, your destination for Los Angeles football. Great show for you today. Excited to welcome on former co-host. Sounds kind of dramatic when I say it like that, but one of my best friends, awesome guy, football coach, does stuff for the Chiefs Wire, knows all the things about Los Angeles football, my good buddy, Talon Graff. What's up, my man?
What's up, dude? That video is hype. I
right?
love that. Yeah,
I think
cool.
I think it's one of the better ones. So I don't know why. I don't think I've ever said Talon Graff on the show. So Coach Graff, the coach. What's up?
What's up, dog? You can call me whatever you want. We're at that point.
It just sounds weird though. It sounds weird.
Yeah.
No matter where we are. So what's up, man? Though, how you been? What's up? What's new?
Dude, not a lot. I mean, living in this pandemic world, obviously things are getting better, which is awesome. I love it.
Yeah,
things seem to be getting back to normal. Yeah. We got our vaccines, so everything's good in our household. And nothing quite new. Just planning for that wedding that's coming up.
Yes, sir. I think had you on live recently during the draft, and I maybe had you on before that. I can't remember, but yeah, we talked wedding a little bit there. So dude, we're like a month out, and you're going to be a married man.
I know, it's crazy. It's exciting. It's been a wacky journey to get where we are now, but it's
yeah. You should
I wouldn't change anything, right? Yeah, we should, but I wouldn't change anything. I think it's going to be perfect.
All worth it. Yeah, well worth the wait. It'll be better,
yes,
and
sir.
We're excited for it. So, yeah, man. But we're going to talk. Gonna be a good show. We're going to talk this PFF quarterback rankings that came out.
Mm-hmm.
Everything Pro Football Focus does, nowadays is a little controversial, little clickbaity. So we'll get into that. We'll talk obviously extensively at that. But first, what are you drinking? I know every time we do a show, we got our drinks on. I'm just curious. What are you sipping on?
The old classic, the Jack and Coke. That's what I got.
Yeah,
that's what I got.
You got the big boy, the Costco, or are you a small one right now? Yeah, always got the KU cup. Look at all the Kansas stuff in the background.
I know. I feel like I'm throwing up. Like I feel like I'm not. I didn't plan that. It just kind of happened.
It's okay. I mean, you're a KU fan from Kansas.
I am, and I am excited about the new hire. I am stoked about that. And shout out to the special teams coordinator, Jake Schoonover. He's an old family friend of ours, so I'm super thrilled that he's on the staff there. I was worried because he joined when Les Miles was there, and then obviously the transition. I was like, dude, if Scooney doesn't stay, I'm going to be upset. Yeah, but he stuck around, so I'm super thrilled about that. So I'm really excited about the future of KU. I really am.
That's awesome. Good and retained. So happy about that. So okay, before we jump into this, gotta mention that the LA Football Network and the LA Football Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision engineering tools for your family jewels. And Manscaped, which is why this is so exciting for us to be partnered with them, just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. Talon, I know you have been with Manscaped before, but I don't think you've seen this 4.0 version, have you?
No, I'm a little scared, to be honest with you.
Don't be scared, because this new generation is top notch, and over 2 million men, you heard that right, 2 million worldwide have trusted Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. We're going to give you 20% off and free shipping with the code LAFB20. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code LAFB20 at manscaped.com. It's that easy. Just head to manscaped.com, type in that promo code LAFB20. You'll get 20% off free shipping on your new Lawnmower 4.0. A lot of great stuff about this product. I'm going to talk more about it extensively because we're partnered throughout our many shows. But the one I'll tease on this show, Talon, I don't know how you feel about this, waterproof. No more. I mean, this is going to sound weird, but no more awkwardly standing over the toilet shaving. Just get it done in the shower. Clean and easy.
I like that.
Waterproof. How great is that? LED light, precision. If it's dim lighting in your shower, you're good.
Dude, rolling blackouts, you can still shave.
You can still shave. If that baby's charged up and revved up, you're good to go.
So when the lights do come back on, you look good.
You've done this before. There he is. You've done this before. All right. Manscaped.com, LAFB 20 for 20% off and free shipping. All right, Coach. Anything else you want to catch up on before we just jump into these QB rankings?
No, I think like I said, nothing really too new to report.
Let me ask you this real quick.
All good things. Yeah.
Just because I like talking. You said you guys are both vaccinated. I just got my second dose on Monday, so I'm all good to go now. My wife gets hers tomorrow. Okay. Did that second one knock you on your ass, or were you pretty much did you battle through it fine?
I did the 1 dose.
Okay, you did the J&J.
I did.
And did it hit you hard or not too bad?
Dude, like I was super achy. Like just my muscles like and I suffer from like the normal aches and pains already, but like that is just everything's just I don't know. I never felt nauseous or really sick, but I just felt like someone just beat me with a baseball bat all over my body, and it's but yeah, and that lasted about a day and a half, but then after that so
yeah. Seemed like that's pretty standard because I got mine Monday morning, like early, like 10 a.m. And I think by like midnight-ish, started getting real achy, had a headache. And then my wife, of course, it was like a perfect storm, had to work an overnight shift. So it was just me and my 1-year-old daughter. And of course, she picked this one night to wake up literally every 30 minutes, like the worst sleeping night she's had in like months. So I had just got the shot, starting to get really achy. She is up constantly for 30 minutes. So I did not get any sleep that night. Then the next morning when it really hit me, my wife got home at 7 a.m., hadn't slept all night. Like I said, she worked a 7 to 7 shift. So she's exhausted. I feel like absolute crap. And I'm like, all right, well, you need to sleep, but like, I can't function. And I feel like I just went at 60 minutes with Aaron Donald, like in the trenches. So it was a rough day on Tuesday. That would be, but yeah, then went by 3:00 on Tuesday. So basically 12 hours. That was good to go. And I feel great right now. Here we are on Wednesday. I feel great.
Well, you look great.
Appreciate that. I probably feel better than I look, but that's okay. So, all right, let's get into this Pro Football Focus. So
do it.
I want to say this about Pro Football Focus. First of all, I'm curious your thoughts or your opinion on them. I feel like when they started off, they became widely known, A, because Chris Collinsworth was involved and obviously his prowess, but B, because they were kind of the first truly analytical formula or system to grading players. It wasn't opinion based. They had truly a formula where they're like, okay, we have a grading scale and this is how these players rank by grade. And then when Chris Collinsworth started taking those grades and all of a sudden they became ingrained in, Sunday Night Football. So they got really famous because now they were using those grades as they announced players on Sunday Night Football. So then they got really, really popular and they grew so big. And then it's like things shift in the media market. I have no idea what their financials were or whatever, but then it's like, I don't know if they weren't getting the subscriptions they expected from that exposure, or they couldn't keep up with all the hires or what. But then all of a sudden, they kind of shifted towards much more opinionated, clickbaity rankings and systems. And I know they still base this stuff on their formulas and their grading, but I just feel like when you see some of these, it's like, okay, do these guys watch the game? I mean, maybe they are truly seeing things that I don't see, but a lot of things I'm like, this just doesn't make any damn sense how they grade these guys. Do you see that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I don't fully understand their formula. And I'm not a math guy. I'm terrible at numbers. But it just it's cool. Like it's a neat little thing to put in, and it gives you a good idea. It's a good starting point, I think, to really judge football players. But there's so much more than just that grade and all the numbers they put in. Mm-hmm. Football is never just a numbers thing. And if that formula is strictly just numbers, it's not 100% accurate, and it never will be. And the way they do it, from what I understand, is they literally sit there and chart every single play, every single player, and they give them a grade based on like a 4-point scale or something. I understand that sitting there and watching one individual player so many reps might give you an idea of how good that player is, and it will. But if you get focused on one player, that's player evaluation, and I get the grade. But if you're grading a player, you also have to look at the whole picture, right? Yeah. You have to the scheme. What's everybody else doing around him? Is he, is he missing a block because somebody else didn't get the good double. There's a lot that goes into that, right? So yeah, it's like I said, I think it's a good starting point for someone who wants to, begin evaluating. It's a good launching point. Look at this guy. This is kind of a general consensus. Go from there. If you get a big board going, go off that, and then make your own assumptions. If you think, well, this guy's actually a little bit, but starting point. It's not the end all be all.
Totally, yeah. And I think, and I do want to be clear. I think that everyone at PFF, works their butt off and probably deserves to be there and grind. So none of this is trying to take a jab at them. I just think a lot of people put all their stock into their grades. And I think it's a very subjective grade or objective grade where it's like you said, it's a good starting point. It's a good, they're not like so off where you're like, wow, this is egregious, but it's definitely like, it's not the end all be all. And I do think though, just because I know some people that work for Pro Football Focus. And so what I've heard from them over the years is that the people that, not always, but for the most part, the people that do the grading, they hire a ton of people for very low wages that they have sit and do their gradings at games. And so they then give these grades out, and then their top people look at those grades, and they're the ones that then talk about them and make these lists. And not saying that maybe they started doing the grading, but a lot of their grading they get from some lower level employee that did all that. And then they're taking their word for it and saying, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to rank this guy because this is how he was graded by so-and-so who, maybe watched this player for 8 hours, but didn't watch anyone else. So anyway, probably getting off topic here, but that's how I kind of view PFF's rankings now as a grading scale.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. There is stuff wrong with it. I'm not going to sit there and say there's nothing wrong with it because there is stuff wrong with it. That's the whole point. There's stuff wrong with it.
Right now.
Yeah. But yeah, it's fine. Like if people want to look at it and use it and whatever, but yeah, I mean, my God, people, some of the things they say, it's just like, oh, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really think that, but whatever.
Yeah. Like before we get into this QB, and now people are probably like, come on, just get onto it. But this is related. I can't remember his name right now, but one of the PFF guys who's now pretty big on Twitter, said Tyreek Hill is probably the greatest deep threat of all time. And so hearing that, Tyreek Hill may end up being, and I didn't listen to, I don't know if he was on a podcast or within an article. It was a graphic made from Pro Football Focus. So it wasn't someone else that like pulled it and like skewered it. It was literally their company that made it. Did you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the graphic said Tyreek Hill is the greatest deep threat of all time. Not might be, not when he's finished. That was the thing. And he may be. He definitely has a talent for it, definitely has the quarterback to become that, definitely has a team around him. But to say he is right now, when you have guys like, Randy Moss, Lance Allworth, all these phenomenal players, basically it's a kid you can tell he's like 21 years old, very young, and hadn't really probably watched football before like 2000. And that's being generous. That's what a lot of these now more grading guys are. What do you think when you saw that?
I mean, it's just it's exactly what I said. Like, you can't really think that. Like, and if you do, you didn't really watch Randy Moss. Yeah. And nothing against Tyreek Hill. And I know Tyreek Hill, this is going to fuel him all this controversy now, and everybody's saying, because it's all, I think it's universal across the board pretty much, that everybody's coming out and saying, no, it's Moss.
Yeah, as it should be.
It should be.
Again,
right?
Tyreek Hill could be that, but as of right now, no.
And
I remember watching Randy Moss games with Randall Cunningham, and then Dante Culpepper would literally just chuck it up.
Yeah.
And Randy Moss would go make a play between three defenders. Tyreek Hill has the greatest quarterback in NFL right now. And yes, Tyreek Hill is extremely good and extremely fast, but he just runs a burn route and he gets hit in the numbers every time. Like Randy Moss went and made plays 50 yards down the field.
Yeah. Now, I mean, granted, Tyreek Hill's made some pretty amazing plays.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I don't want to take anything away from him.
But no, to say, I agree though, to say Tyreek Hill is better than Randy Moss at any, point, because Randy Moss is a Hall of Famer. Let's not forget that. Yeah. And Tyreek Hill has one more ring than Moss does, but
yeah.
Not to throw jabs, but there is stuff to compare there, and you can say that. I don't know why we're even getting into this too deep. I don't want to go down a too deep of a rabbit hole, but yeah, I mean, Hill's playing with Mahomes and Kelsey and gets Reed, but we saw what Moss did with Brady and dude.
Yeah,
that 07 offense was just unreal.
Yeah.
I don't like the Patriots. I don't like Tom Brady. But man, watching that offense, Brady and Moss.
It's still crazy that they lost the Super Bowl that year.
It really is. It really is. Shout out Coach Spags. But.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Insane. So, all right. Yeah. Let's get into this list now because we'll get into more. And obviously, this is the LA Football Podcast. We'll be having a focus in on Justin Herbert and Matthew Stafford. But, in the sense of the offseason, we will, it's going to be a little more national, at least on this episode. Obviously, OTAs did start, or rookie minicap for the Chargers. OTAs for the Rams, no media involved there, but I don't think there's a lot to really talk about with that. So I think this will be fun. So what do you think? We probably be best to start 32 and work backwards, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Should I share it on the screen so you can see it? I don't know if you have it in front of you. I can share it on the screen.
Let's go for it.
How does that sound? Okay, let's do that. Free advertising for Pro Football Focus here. They get all their, not that they need it anymore and they already have, but I mean, like I said, they know what they're doing. Everyone's talking about it in their shows. Everyone's tweeting about it. Everyone's writing about it. Like, I'm curious how many views this article has. I'd be really curious.
It's got to have, come on, a ton.
Crushing it. Okay. You know how I feel about this guy. My listeners, even though this is the LA Football Podcast, know how I feel about the potential of this guy. But Drew Lock at 32, I don't think he's 32, but I see where this ranking is, and I don't hate it. I disagree with it for some other reason, but I'll let you first. You talk about it first, and then I'll counter.
I mean, he's not 32, and I didn't put Jalen Hurts, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, Drew Lock is just one of those guys. It's very controversial. Not a lot. Everybody's split on him. You either think he's the guy or you're done with him. There's no middleman, I don't think. I think Drew Lock is still the guy in Denver unless they trade for a certain number 12. But we don't. I'm scared of that. But yeah, Drew Lock. He's not the worst starting quarterback in the league. Like, there's no way. Like, he could go to I think he's better than both quarterbacks that New Orleans has to offer. Like, I wouldn't take Mac Jones over him. I wouldn't take. I'd really have to think about taking Trey Lance over. Like, there's just certain guys where I would put him much higher. Yeah.
So here's my thing. And again, everyone knows I'm a big Drew Lock guy because I think the potential's there if he's given the opportunity with this offseason and yada, yada. But hey, I could be wrong. But just looking at what he has done and why he shouldn't be 32. So if you don't see a name next to him and you see quarterback A, 18 games played, 60% completion percentage, 23 touchdowns, 18 interceptions, 3,000 yards. That's not great, but is that 32 in the league just statistically? It's not like horrible. 18 games ever played.
Right.
3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns. So that's one thing. My other thing, and this we'll get into as we go down the list, this is just my opinion. I don't think any rookie should be ranked above a guy that's played in the league. Every rookie should be 32, 31, 20, even though they potentially, like, yes, I think Trevor Lawrence is probably going to have potential to be a top 5 quarterback. I think Zach Wilson has a great arm. I think Justin Fields can be, but until they've played it down, again, this is me, other people differ. I can't put them above someone that's played in the NFL yet. I just can't do it.
Now,
you don't know until they're on the field.
And I agree with you to an extent. I understand where your thought processes come from, but in my opinion, and again, it's just how you do rankings. And in my opinion, I take into consideration who would I want on my team. Like, it's not all about, I get like Trevor Lawrence never played a down of NFL ball, but I'm still going to take him over Drew Lock. So I'm going to take that into consideration, right? So I think if I were to sit down and rank quarterbacks, I would have Trevor Lawrence above Drew Lock, even though he's never played in the NFL. But that's just because if I was drafting guys, I would draft Trevor Lawrence over Drew Lock.
Okay. Yeah. If you were doing a redraft right now, who would you? Yeah, I can see that. But
that's just that's just a component. It's not the whole thing.
And I don't think any team, including the Broncos, would take Drew Lock over Trevor Lawrence. So I get that. Yeah. It's just when you're doing a ranking list, it's hard for me to rank someone that has never yet played because, yes, we see the potential, but we don't know until they play. But yes, I get a lot of these are projection based too. So, all right, but moving on to 31, Jalen Hurts, minimal snaps, really. I don't even think Philly's officially said he's a starter. He will be, but I don't think they've officially said. I think they said like open competition. Mm-hmm. It came out after Doug Peterson left that was one of the reasons because there was the QB controversy. The GM wanted one guy, he wanted another guy, or something to do with when they drafted Hurts. So, but it is what it is. I don't think this is a bad ranking for him. Would you have him higher than this? I mean, I would have Drew Lock higher than Jalen Hurts. That's just me, but I wouldn't have Hurts much higher than 31. I don't think at this point.
Yeah, I mean, again, not a large sample size with Hurts either. We've seen what he did in college. We've seen a little bit when Carson Wentz went down. But, again, did they really upgrade at quarterback? I think the argument is there that they did. But 31 here, I have no problem with it. Yeah,
I think it's fair there. So, all right, Zach Wilson. Me and you love talking quarterbacks, and we didn't really talk much about this class, like, off air or just in texting or whatnot. So I'm curious, his ranking is what it is. I still have my thoughts on rookie quarterbacks being ranked higher than guys that have played, but what's just your thoughts on Wilson? Did you think he deserved to be the number 2 quarterback? And then do you like this spot for him?
Yeah, I thought he was fine at number 2. I think, it was Trevor Lawrence and then everybody else argue, mm-hmm. who's better, but I think each one had their strengths and each one had their weakness. And as long as each one lands with a coach and within a system that caters to their strengths, I think every single one of them could be a great starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. So to have Zach Wilson at number 30 right now, again, taking into consideration, if I was actually taking these guys and wanting them for my team, I would probably have him a little bit higher. I'm not, I would probably want Zach Wilson over Ryan Fitzpatrick, for instance. Okay. I would probably boost him a little bit.
Would you take Zach Wilson over the guy next on the list, Tua Tagovailoa?
I'm probably
Tua's a hard one. Tua's a hard one because he was 2 years ago the consensus over one. Tank for Tua. Then he gets hurt. Yeah. Joe Burrow has the historic season he had. Yeah. And then it was kind of a toss-up between Tua and Justin Herbert, but it was still pretty much, I don't want to say unanimous, but pretty heavily Tua was the guy better than Herbert. And then we saw what Herbert did, and Tua struggled. Not only struggled, I actually got into someone with Twitter about this, got benched twice. They blamed injury. The coach literally said after the game, no, he was not injured. I decided to go back to Fitzpatrick. So got benched twice, whether it was mental, physical, whatever it was. They decided, hey, we had pick 3, we had pick 18, we decided to roll with him. They drafted not another quarterback, so they're sticking with Tua. Really an interesting case because we know what he potentially had when we saw at Alabama, but after that injury and after what we saw at Miami, and again, what did he play? 8 games?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to roll with his potential, I think, still, but definitely doesn't look great so far.
No, but the Dolphins, again, they had Ryan Fitzpatrick there, and he had a large part in this. But man, they looked a lot better than they have in a lot of years. And Tua, man, you draft a guy like that for a reason. You have to stick to your guns. You have to trust the process. You have to give the guy a chance, right? Like, come on now. Some guys just don't get it as quickly as others. That doesn't mean they're not going to be as good. It just means it's going to take them a little longer to get there. And I think that's a Tua Tagovailoa to a T. I think he's still got great NFL potential. I think he could be I know they have different styles of play a little bit, but I think he could be a Kyler Murray spark of a player for the Dolphins. And I think the front office trusts him. I would have him a lot higher than 29.
You would? Okay, so you would have him higher than 29.
I would, yeah. I think this is way too low. There's a lot of guys that I could, probably think of that I would think, well, I would rather have Tua.
So is that based more on age and potential or more on the talent? I'm assuming it's based on age potential.
Well, that and the fact that, it just, when you get down to it, he's probably going to be a better quarterback in 2021. For instance, like Cam Newton. I think Tua is going to be a better quarterback than Cam Newton.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. 29 is too low. I get it again, but you can't just put his numbers in there and say he's the 29th quarterback in the NFL because he's just simply not.
Yeah. And so this is where the whole, how are they doing this? Is this strictly based on what their PFF grades are, or are they taking the grades and then adding some opinion to it? Because if it's strictly based on PFF grades, then Tua probably didn't have great ones. So you can see why he'd be low.
Mm-hmm. So here's the thing that I don't like. The very last line of his little paragraph. That's not the worst thing, but he also had 13 turnover-worthy plays. He didn't have 13 turnovers. There are 13 turnover-worthy plays. I get it. That's a knock on him. But guess what? Take into consideration that he's going to do film study all offseason. He's going to see those 13 turnover-worthy plays and then next year not make those same mistakes. So that makes him higher than 29. So that I'm a little fired up now that it's just like that's what I'm talking about. That 13 turnover-worthy plays in 2020. Okay, man. That's probably not going to happen again. Because okay,
yeah, no,
that's development, man. Development. Quarterbacks develop.
Yeah,
they get better. They improve. It's amazing what coaching can do.
Yep, and it's amazing how quick fan bases want to move on from quarterbacks.
Yeah,
amazing.
It really is
too. And how
it really
quickly,
is.
What angers me more so than even fans is analysts, and not even like ESPN analysts, but guys in our shoes that are, we're trying to make it, but so, we work our asses off watching a lot of film, and how quickly even guys like us will say, and this is the word I hate, that guy's trash. Oh, he's trash. I'm like,
yeah,
from that many games, you're going to say that? Like, come on.
If
after 4 years, then let's say what it is.
It's lazy. It's a lazy assessment. It's a what are they, a buzzword? Come on.
Yeah.
What do you mean he's trash? What do you mean? Like, have context to what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like, give me a reason. Show me a clip. Tell me break it down.
Yeah.
He's trash. He's trash. He threw 13 interceptions last year. He's trash.
Yeah.
All right, bro. Sit down.
Can't stand it. So, move on 28. Before we do, just a reminder that today's episode of the LA Football. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is fun. We're getting fiery. I like this.
I know.
I missed it, dude. I missed it.
Me too. Yeah. These fired up conversations brought to you by betonline.ag, where you can fire your money and hopefully win some back. Coach, I don't know if you're much of a gambler, but betonline.ag has all the lines, money lines, spreads, everything you need. NHL playoffs are off and rolling. NBA playoffs set to start, I believe, tonight. Or you can bet on Super Bowl odds for the NFL. You can bet on, that first opening weekend. Everything you need at betonline.ag. Go today on mobile or desktop. Get a 50% welcome bonus however you sign up. Use Bitcoin, and there's no fees. Are you into Bitcoin yet? Have you jumped on that train?
I have no idea what any of that stuff is. I am so out of the loop. I feel so old. I don't know anything.
We'll talk off air. Dogecoin to the moon, which is just all Bitcoin took a huge dump like within the last 24 hours, but it's going to go back up. I'm pumped. So I actually do have some Bitcoin, and I have Dogecoin. I got on that train a little while back, but anyway, betonline.ag, make sure to check them out. All right. 28, Sam Darnold. My thoughts on Sam Darnold, man. I love Sam Darnold. I think he got a raw deal in New York with Adam Gase. I think this is a great fresh start with him from Carolina, having Joe Brady hopefully as an offensive coordinator, Matt Rule as a head coach. They've got good young talent there. Obviously, Chris McCaffrey coming back off of injury and some good young receivers. So I just see, and he's like, 23 years old. So I see him as if I was going to the draft right now, and I know you have to look at what he's done in the NFL so far, but he may be my second quarterback taken after Trevor Lawrence. I may do Trevor Lawrence. I may take Sam Darnold, who's, I think, the same age. Like, the dude is so young, has great arm talent, but I don't know. I'm a biased USC guy because we cover him here at the LA Football Network, but to me, Sam Darnold's higher than 28. And I think it's just because of his ceiling.
Yeah, I agree. I think Darnold's about to have a big year. And, dude, I think he's going to do big things with Rule. And is Brady still there? Is he still their OC?
Joe Brady, yep, their OC.
Yeah, so, I mean, man, I think he's in for a resurgence. I really do. Comeback player of the year type of year. And so 28 definitely, I think, is too low.
Yeah, I agree. Ooh, comeback player of the year. I like that. Could definitely see that happening. So, and then you have 20, like, so this, like, in what world?
Well, wait, real quick. To be comeback player of the year, I guess you have to be like good at one point, though, right? Like, he's never really, like, has he, can you, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just legitimately like, is that part of it? Like, do you have to be like a certain level to win comeback player of the year?
That's a good
like,
question.
You know,
and
like,
I feel like everyone that wins it,
ever,
I feel like everyone that I can remember that wins it is coming off of injury.
Usually, there's like a missed year or something, a big chunk of, yeah.
Okay.
So you're probably right.
We'll say the LA Football Network comeback player of the year. We'll do differently.
I love it.
We'll do it differently.
I like the way you think.
Because all I know is I just remember that Rose Bowl game against Penn State and watching Sam Darnold play and saying, this guy is going to be great. And of course, he got sacked in the worst situation possible with Adam Gase as his partner in life. And now it's a fresh start. So, but yeah, here we go to 27. And this is what you were talking about. I'm talking about. Cam Newton has had a great career, former number 1 overall pick, MVP, Super Bowl appearance, kind of changed the game for quarterbacks. But at this point in 2021, I don't see a world where Cam Newton is better than, I wouldn't put him probably above any of these quarterbacks. I would probably have Cam Newton at 32 at this point. I mean, the guy had 5 touchdown passes last year. 5.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. Like, why is Tua and Sam lower? Like, I don't get it.
Even Drew Lock.
Even Drew Lock. That's an argument too. I mean, and no disrespect to Cam, but he knows. He knows he was there. He was a part of it. He knows how bad they played. So I think he, as slighted as he may feel, it's like, bro, yeah, you just didn't play well. So yeah, I don't think he deserves anything much higher than 27. I mean, there's arguments to be had, but yeah. Anything here in the meat here, the low 20s, I think you're pretty good. The high 20s.
Tough argument. And he had 12 rushing touchdowns, but 5.
Like quarterback,
5 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, not good.
I'm going to say it one more time. What I said it now 10 times. 5 touchdown passes.
It's not good.
26. Jared Goff. Just let that sit for a minute, Rams fans. Let you marinate with that. I'm sure they're very happy to see, or they're not very happy, but I'm sure they all would say, yep, that's where I would have him. 26. Yep. He's the one that held us back and we could have gone farther. I don't know if I would have him this low. I don't think I would.
I wouldn't. The dude is 2 years removed from a Super Bowl appearance. And I'm not saying that's all that matters, but dude, yeah, there's far worse quarterback play than Jared Goff. And I would probably put him maybe somewhere in the teens.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he's right around the middle road of NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, aside from his rookie year, which he only played in 7 games, he's never thrown for less than 3,800 yards, excuse me. Hopefully not less than 38. Never thrown less than 3,800 yards, thrown for over 20 touchdowns. I know his interceptions have been fairly high, which has been a big knock on him. But to me, he's right around 20, I think. And again, it's hard not looking at the whole list. I've looked at this obviously before we started recording, but not just staring at it all right in front of us. It's hard to say, I would have him above this guy, which we'll get to when we kind of saunter on up. But just looking cerebrally at like what I know from watching him for 5 seasons or whatever, and covering him and really analyzing him every waking moment because I cover the Rams. 26 seems a little low to me. I know Rams fans got kind of sour there at the end and they do think he cost them, but he's a better quarterback, I think, than he got credit for. I do think he did held the Rams offense back from what Sean McVay wanted to do, and they did upgrade with Matt Stafford, which we'll get to more later. But I just think 26 is too. I think he's going to be very successful in Detroit. I think with Anthony Lynn as his OC, with a very more conservative offense, with a rushing game first, that they can kind of, not make him do so much outside of the pocket like McVay likes to do, I think he'll be successful.
Yeah, I do too. Jared Goff he's still a good quarterback. And you said it very well that Anthony Lynn is going to be able to put him in a situation to be successful. Yeah. And I don't, and I'm not an expert on the Rams. Definitely not at the level you are by any means, but I don't know if he was always put in the best situations to succeed given his talents, right? Like in LA. Nothing against McVay. He's a great coach, but sometimes it's more about the Jimmies and Joes and the X's and O's. So if your quarterback can't do something, dude, you can't run that play. So,
Yeah. No,
take that for what it is. I don't know.
No, I talked extensively about that throughout the season, and I love Sean McVay, and I think he's a top 5 coach in the league, and I think this fit with Stafford is going to be great. But yeah, and he even admitted many times in press conferences, and a lot of people saw it as coaches speak, just him taking the blame. But there was so many times where it's like, and decide who you want to blame. If you want to blame Goff or you want to blame McVay. But for me, sometimes a great coach says, okay, my player can do this. I probably shouldn't have him do this.
A
If
great
he's
coach
good at
will
this,
always do that.
let's not have him do what he's not good at. And there was many times when McVay kind of hung him out to dry and had him do things he wasn't good at. Now, there were also times when, and I don't know if it was enablement by McVay, or I don't know if it was just a lack of development for Jared Goff, but what I saw that he struggled most with was stuff pre-snap, stuff that Mahomes is so good at, stuff that Tom Brady is the GOAT at, Peyton Manning was so good at, stuff that he struggled pre-snap reading beforehand. And I don't know if that was because the famous thing of McVay being in his ear until the microphone shut off at 15 seconds. So he just kind of relied on that. And then when that kind of the rules changed, whatever, then that really hurt him. But I think specifically to the Miami game, when they're running cover 0 multiple times, and cover 0, you coach football. For those that don't know, basically you have more guys in the box than are not in the box, meaning you're probably going to have a receiver wide open if you can get the ball out quick. And instead he snaps the ball and holds on to it way too long, throws 2 picks, fumbles 2 times. You throw a 7-yard dump or you throw a bubble screen right off the bat, and he's getting a 7-yard gain every single time. So it was those pre-snap stuff. It's like, okay, was that the enablement of McVay, or was that just his lack of not recognizing things? And that we don't really know.
Yeah, no, unless you're inside the room or on the sideline, you don't really know where the crack in the chain is, right? And this quarterback switch, I think it's going to be great for both teams. I think Stafford's going to be successful, and I think Goff's going to be successful. And I think it was a good deal for both teams.
Yeah, I agree.
And I would have Jared Goff higher.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll end it with that. We both would have him higher than 26, not way higher, but in the low 20s, I think. So a few spots. Justin Fields, 25. I'll just kind of stick to what I said. I think Justin Fields is going to be a great prospect. Love what he did at Ohio State. Great young man. Obviously he's coming in with a chip on his shoulder now, going to Chicago, but it's just, Jared Goff went to a Super Bowl. Justin Fields has yet to play it down in the NFL. It's hard for me to put a guy like that above a Super Bowl playing quarterback. Do I think Justin Fields has probably a higher ceiling? Yeah. If I'm drafting today, kind of how you phrased it, am I taking Fields or Goff? Seeing what we know, yeah, I'd probably take a chance on Fields over Goff. But at the same time, when you're doing these rankings, you don't know. Fields could flame out and end up being, I'm not saying he will be, but could end up being like, Dwayne Haskins, who is, I know they're different style quarterbacks, but, former Ohio State quarterback. I'm not saying he will be, but there's that opportunity of a guy that you have all this. Dwayne Haskins threw for 5,000 yards at Ohio State, had 3 interceptions his final year. There was a lot of hype, was taken 16th overall. Fields was taking, 13? What was he taking? 12th overall?
I want to say 11.
11 or 12? So just, 11th overall, I think. So there's a few picks before. I do think Fields is a much better prospect, and as my ceiling, all I'm trying to get at is you don't know until these guys are actually on the field playing what they're going to be. And we do know Jared Goff has limitations, but we know he went to a Super Bowl and has thrown for 4,000 yards almost every single year. So I probably have him ranked higher right now. But yes, the ceiling, I do agree. Justin Fields is probably higher at this point.
Yeah, no, definitely Goff should be higher. But I think the placement of Fields at 25 is pretty accurate, given, probably the whole scope of the quarterback field. That's probably where he belongs.
Yeah, that's well said. He's where he should be. I think Goff should just be higher. So,
yeah.
Okay, moving on. So this was the interesting one. Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill at 24. So they're just taking the Saints QB room. I guess it's because we don't really know. They haven't really said who's going to start. I'm sure they'll do Taysom Hill played a lot with Drew Brees, so it'd be silly to think he's not going to play even more with Jameis Winston. Let me say this first, and then I'll let you talk, because I've been talking more on these, but
you're fine.
I know everyone hates on Taysom Hill, and rightfully so, because he's not really the true quarterback sense of the word. But I have to give some credit to Sean Payton and the Saints, because what they're doing, to a sense, is working, right? I know they haven't won the Super Bowl with it in that sense, and I think there's times when it's silly, when it's like a big play and Drew Brees is on a roll and all of a sudden they would pull him out for Taysom Hill. Like, I don't agree with some of the situations, but overall, how they've used Taysom Hill, I think has been good for their offense, but it just, I don't know. Maybe it just doesn't get perceived that way. And I know nationally people just like roast them because it's like, oh, they're paying him all this money to be a gadget player, but it seems to be working for him. But I wouldn't have them ranked this high. No way.
No. Like, how are you going to rank someone at 24 when they may not even start on their own team? Like, you can't just say, well, the starter of New Orleans is going to be 24. We just know that.
Yeah. Whoever.
That's not how it works, fellas. Like, that's not how it works. So I don't like this at all. I would have them probably 31 and 32, to be honest with you. I would probably, I mean, and again, dude, I'm a big Taysom Hill guy. I think he's great. And Peyton and company have done a tremendous job of maximizing his skill set.
Yeah.
Having said that, and yeah, they had success. The team had success. They got the W's with him at, under center. But that was just a chunk, man. That's just a small percentage of what an NFL season looks like for an NFL quarterback. And I just don't think he is. And I'm not in the room with him. I don't see him. Obviously, the coaching staff knows him much, but I don't know if they're maybe getting too carried away with believing in him. Like, he's a great football player, man, and keep doing what he's doing. But yeah, don't do too much. I don't think he's an NFL starting quarterback. I just don't believe that.
Well, and what I think speaks the most to this, and this is what gets annoying to me about sometimes recency bias, is just 2 years ago, Taysom Hill was also on the Saints. And when Drew Brees got hurt, Teddy Bridgewater came in, went 6-0 as a starter. Taysom Hill actually played less during that stretch. Teddy Bridgewater pretty much ran the show, went 6-0, and then had a very mediocre year in Carolina. And now he's not even in these rankings, not even in these 32 teams. And obviously, as of right now, he's considered a backup to Drew Lock, so maybe that's why. But just interesting that they'll have a Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston duo at 24 above some of the other quarterbacks that, I don't know. I just don't agree with it.
No, I don't either. And here's an interesting thought. Would you take Trubisky over those two? I would. I probably would.
I don't know if I could do that.
Come on. Or Winston and Hill.
See, I don't know. Maybe
I'm not.
Maybe I just.
I know Trubisky's bad, but my God, like, he's not that bad. Like, these guys,
he has the potential. But I think you're going to hate me for this, but I think Jameis Winston, yes, did the 30 for 30 just 2 years ago, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions.
Yeah.
But the dude slings it, man. Like, he's thrown for 4,000 yards every year. I think he threw for 5,000 yards that year. If he can just cut down some of those mistakes, the dude can play quarterback. Trubisky, sometimes you're like, can he even hit an open guy? Like, there's times when he's missing wide open receivers, hold the ball too long. Jameis Winston just makes dumb decisions sometimes, but he can play. He can, Heisman winner, national champion, national champion. I would take Winston over Trubisky. That's just me, though.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to the Super Bowl with either one of those guys, so it's really like we're arguing about whose penny is shinier. But
yes,
it's worth stating that, like, how are you the 24 just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Interesting. So, and hey, they could come out and all of a sudden Jameis Winston has a Pro Bowl type year after, sitting behind Drew Brees for a year, maybe learning some discipline, but
you never know.
He did have the only touchdown in that game against Tampa Bay. So.
Yeah. And I mean, the dude obviously has neck down everything you need. Yeah. He just needs to clean things up mentally.
Yeah, and if he ends up cleaning up mentally and having a good year, they'll look like the biggest geniuses ever for signing him for a $1 million contract to be a backup for a year, and then re-signing and now being their starter. So we'll see how it plays out. But as of right now, I would have him lower.
Yeah, for sure.
I just think it's funny they combine. Like, obviously, Winston's gonna be Taysom Hill's not gonna be the starting quarterback. He's gonna get reps. But how funny is that? Before we move on, how funny was that contract? Sign Taysom Hill to like $140 million deal. Basically, it's just gonna wipe clean next year, just so they could move a bunch of cap money.
Hey, whatever it takes, right? Like,
I wonder what he thought when they're like, Taysom, we're going to have you sign this contract. You're not getting that. You're not making $140 million from us, but we're going to have you sign it just so we can move cap money. And then next year we're going to wipe it. We're going to cut. We're going to basically wash the contract and start over again. How does that sound?
Like, there's a part of me that like thinks like that. There's no way that's legal, but I mean, I'm sure,
Right?
I'm sure it is. I'm sure there's a loophole or something, but he had to have known about it. Like, and I think the fact that he's a quarterback and potentially your starting quarterback, I think that's how the front office can justify signing him to that contract. And then all of a sudden, well, you know, it's not going to work out. We're going to, you know, he's not going to be a full-time quarterback, so we're going to restructure that money to make it, you know. So, you know, they know what they're doing. You know, but it's smart. It's a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, kind of sucks for him, but whatever.
Yeah. It's just funny. I remember when it came out, everyone was like, what are the Saints doing? They're paying Taysom Hill this much money. And then like literally 30 minutes later, everyone was like, oh, it's just a cap move. Like they're just moving money around and he's not making that, blah, blah. And I was like, I wonder what he's thinking. Just being basically a scapegoat to move money, but he's not really getting that.
Yeah. I mean,
he's making good money for his 4 plays a game. So,
right. Yeah. I was going to say, he doesn't have really a leg to stand on.
Yeah. So, all right.
He owes them.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, he's a 31-year-old star for his 30 plays in his whole career.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude is fun. I like.
Dude, I'm sounding like a hater. I actually like Taysom Hill. I think he's like what he brings. I think it's great. It's like some people like can't stand the guy. I'm like, what do you care? Like he brings an element that is different than other teams. Like. We're getting way off down this rabbit hole, which is okay. Which is why I love talking to you and doing this podcast with you, my friend.
It's your show, bro.
That's why I love it. But when when you get these gadget players for so long, it was always the Wildcat, right? Oh, we're bringing this guy in to run the Wildcat. We got a quarterback or a receiver that can throw, a running back that can run the Wildcat. But Taysom Hill can actually do that well, and they can do more than just a Wildcat. They can do so much more than that. So it's like actually a gadget player that works.
Yeah.
I don't see why people hate on it.
No, because I don't know, because it's not tradition. It's not traditional. It's not the prototypical way to play football and, you know, any sort of innovation. And if it's not widespread, it's always going to be looked down upon. And, you know, I don't know. People look at things in a weird lens sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Last thing about this, and I'll ask you, and I probably know your answer just based on how we've talked about Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a different opinion, even though I've kind of talked bad on both of them. In that NFC Championship game, was it the NFC Championship game or the before that? I can't remember when.
What year are you talking?
Divisional game. This last year, divisional game. NFC Championship was Green Bay and the Bucks. So the Bucks Saints game, NFC divisional game. Had Drew Brees not played, whether injury or Sean Payton said, you know what, Winston, Hill give us a better chance to win. Do you think the Saints may have actually come out on top of that game? Because before you answer, Drew Brees, how great he is, 3 interceptions, I believe 2 of those in the red zone, really played awful all game, played really not great all year. I mean, he was probably the lesser quarterback all year, but his name was Drew Brees.
Right.
Could the Saints may have beaten the Bucks that game?
I mean, I'm gonna say no. But if they game plan for it and they know going into it ahead of time, like this is what they're going to do. We're rolling with Winston. We're rolling with Hill. Brees isn't playing. If they prepare for it and catch the Bucks kind of off guard, I think maybe. And if the Saints defense plays well enough to, you know, maybe. But I just don't in that situation, man.
I mean,
NFL playoffs, he hasn't played great, but dude, if I'm a coach and I'm looking at Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston, and then I got Drew Brees sitting there, and I go in and I roll into an NFL divisional game, and I start Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, and I get slaughtered, I am crucified for not starting Drew Brees.
Oh yeah, I mean, it would be
like that, and the chances of that are just not the Buccaneers. I mean, granted, the offensive line was, not great, but you saw what they did to Patrick Mahomes in that offense, man. They did the same thing to Green Bay and Rodgers, and that. Like the Buccaneers were just a stifling good defense, and they were obviously the best defense in the league in the playoffs. And Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston going to do much better against that defense? I'm not going to buy that. And there's just no, in my opinion, there's no way I don't start Drew Brees in that situation unless he's like legit too hurt to play.
Yeah. It would take.
You got to go with Drew.
It would take some big cojones for a coach to sit your Hall of Fame quarterback for a guy that you signed off of, not the streets, but signed off of free agency, and a guy that's a gadget player. But I don't know. I think sometimes that's what hurts coaches sometimes, is that they see the name, not necessarily see, but they fear the repercussions if it doesn't work out. But I think the risk may have been worth the reward, considering, and this is with all due respect for Drew Brees, who I think is a top 5 quarterback all time, one of the great human beings of the game, considering the one touchdown of the game for the Saints was thrown by Jameis Winston, and considering 2 of the touchdowns the Buccaneers scored were from the 5-yard line in because of interceptions thrown by Drew Brees, or I think one was a fumble maybe. Again, it's all hypothetical. It's all, but anyway, let's move on. It doesn't matter now.
I don't know. I think I would be Drew Brees. I'm probably going to die on that hill, to be honest with you.
Okay. All right, Carson.
And by the way, just real quick, reading this list and not seeing Drew Brees or Phillip Rivers was a little heart-wrenching. But,
right? I know.
Yeah,
I know. Soon we won't have Ben Roethlisberger on that list. We may have Tom Brady for the next decade, which is crazy. And we'll get to that'll be a fun conversation when we get to where he is. Which, if you haven't, seen, it's not a shocker. But I'm sure we'll have some words for that. But anyway, Carson Wentz, 23. You and I have loved Carson Wentz as he came to the league out of North Dakota State. Had a MVP caliber season a few years ago before he got injured against our LA Rams at the Coliseum. Has kind of regressed a little bit ever since then. Had a decent season just a year ago, pulling the Eagles to the playoffs with, trash cans and folding chairs as wide receivers. That's no disrespect to the gentlemen that play the game.
Yeah, none.
But then last year had a pretty porous year. Made some really bad decisions, just didn't look like himself, was called by many as the worst quarterback of the game. Many called for his benching, which ended up happening for Jalen Hurts. Now he finds himself back with his former coach, Frank Reich, I think in a phenomenal situation with Indianapolis. I think 23, considering what happened last year, is fair, but I do think, in my opinion, maybe because I'm too loyal, that's just how I'm built, I think overall he is much better than that and will prove that he's much better than that when he has a Pro Bowl caliber year this year. But based on last year, I think 23 is fair. What say you, Coach?
I mean, I would probably have him lower, but and my gripe about this is, why is this same approach not applied to Sam Darnold's ranking?
Yeah.
Like, they knock Sam Darnold for his turnover-worthy plays, and then they lead off with saying Wentz led the NFL last season in turnover-worthy plays, and he didn't even play the whole season. But yet now he's with Reich and blah, 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 working his – okay, well, Sam Darnold is in a really good situation too. I make it make sense. Like, I don't know. For the ranking, in my opinion, I would probably have him lower. He has a lot to prove, in my opinion. Like, there's a lot of bad to go against not very much good. So there's a tall mountain to climb for Carson Wentz. And 23, I think, in my opinion at least, is pretty lofty given what we've seen. I do think he's going to have a bounce back season. Now, maybe this is the comeback player of the year conversation we should be having, but I do think he's in a good situation. He's in a better situation. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold is too. I would probably say, would you want Sam over Carson?
No.
I mean, earlier you said he would be your number 2 quarterback behind Trevor Lawrence. So, I mean,
well, in this year's draft, yeah.
Oh, okay. My bad.
If it was,
I got you.
Yeah,
I understand.
In this season's draft, if Sam Darnold happened to be in it because of age and everything, he actually could have been in it. I would take Sam Darnold.
I'm with you.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
I would.
I have a soft spot for Carson Wentz. I don't know. I think he has some special skills, but yeah, he struggled the last 2 years. And last year had some good things, or in 2019 showed some good things, making the playoffs. But he's had his struggles, and this very last year was, Not pretty.
No, I don't know. I'm, and you are too. But my God, I am Team Darnold. That's what I'm trying to say. I just stuttered.
Well, no, you make a good point there that for one quarterback, they take his last season and use it against him.
Yeah.
But don't mention anything about his landing spot now. And then for another quarterback, they basically ignore his last season and just look at his current landing spot and where he is. So that's where the rankings are.
Yeah, it's come on. Yeah, and coaching plays a big role in key situations. Yeah. And Matt Rule proved that he's a pretty damn good coach, and so is Joe Brady. So whatever. God, PFF is controversial, isn't it? Like, there's so many things you can argue about.
And that's why they're getting the views now, I guess. They're doing what they are trying to do. So moving on to
this whole show is dedicated to them, so
you're welcome for the free advertising, PFF. You are welcome.
You are welcome.
22, Jimmy G. I'm not a Jimmy G guy at all.
Yeah.
He is still currently the starter. Will probably be overthrown by Trey Lance at some point this season. Has played in the Super Bowl. You know, you could argue that was because of the defense, but you can argue that with a lot of quarterbacks. So,
right. Yeah,
you know, I'm not saying he's a terrible quarterback. He definitely does some good things, has trouble staying healthy, but I don't know. I don't know if it's just the fact that he's a Niner and we see him twice a year with the Rams.
Right.
I would probably have him lower than 22, but it's not egregious at 22. I don't know. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo will be a starter for much longer in the NFL. I'll just say that much.
Right. No, and I think it's fair. I think 22 is fair. This is one of the, it's weird because some of these, they're either way off or I think they're kind of right on the money. But yeah, Jimmy G, I think belongs right there. And when I think about it, would you take Jimmy G over Teddy Bridgewater? No. Okay. And Bridgewater's not even on the list.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Once Trey Lance takes over, whether it's game 1, 2, middle of season, or end of the year, do you think Jimmy G will be a starter elsewhere, or will that be the end of his starting career?
No, I think he'll start somewhere else. I don't think there's 32 quarterbacks better than him in the league.
Okay. I don't think he will.
So, depending on if he lands at a spot where he starts, but I think he'll be either a really good backup or a starter for kind of a not so great team.
So for the sake of it, let's think through it. For the fun. So teams out. Okay. So what team right now, obviously we don't know how these rookie guys are going to land, look, but where could you see him potentially being the next starting quarterback? And I'm putting you in an awkward spot because we haven't looked over. We're doing this on the fly, but I'll think through it with you, but.
Well, I think one spot, and I feel like once you get the reputation of, hey, I'm a young guy, that's who you are. Like, and it's tough to break that. So, and once that happens with Lance, I think another team's going to see that, and I think another team is going to see that is Houston. Houston's going to want to bring him in. They're going to draft somebody new next year. Davis Mills is probably not going to be their future.
So you're saying Deshaun Watson will be gone from Houston?
Come on, he has to be. There's no way Deshaun Watson continues his career in Houston. I just can't see how that happens.
Yeah. Then I could see that spot for sure if he's gone.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I think that's, I think that would be, he's maybe a great guy for what the Houston Texans need, and what they're going through. And, he's a good quarterback. He's not a great one. He's not going to win you a Super Bowl, but you're not winning a Super Bowl anytime soon. So what you need is exactly what he could provide.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Deshaun Watson's gone from Houston. I could see that. Outside of them, though, I'm trying to think. I really can't.
Depends on what Minnesota wants to do with Kirk. How long does he have on his contract?
I think he has 1 or 2 years left after signing his extension. But
if Carson doesn't work out in Indy, they may pick up the phone. There's a number of teams that have questionable quarterback spots. I
hear you. You get a spot. Yeah.
I'm surprised
he'll become that bridge guy now. That's what
he will. I think that's just that's his projection, and then he'll finally land somewhere where he's just a backup, where he'll start a few games because the guy gets hurt all the time. He'll be a Ryan Fitzpatrick, maybe.
Yeah, I can see that. So if he can stay healthy. All right, so 21. Here's where Trevor Lawrence is. Again, this depends on if it's projections. I'd have Trevor Lawrence way higher than this. If it's based on never playing a down, then I'd have him lower than this. So it's
Right.
21 to me is a weird spot, because how are you viewing this? Because if you're viewing this on projections, which we kind of think they are, he should be a hell of a lot higher than 21. If you're viewing this on, it's a rookie, we don't really know yet, then okay, then you should have him behind multiple quarterbacks that have played in Super Bowls, which we have multiple behind him. So This to me is just a weird spot for him. I personally don't have a problem really with it, but it's just a weird spot considering how they've done rankings up to this point.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does seem like it's a random, you're going from Jimmy Garoppolo to Trevor Lawrence. It just seems like a weird, and Carson Wentz is 2 spots away. It just, yeah. I think he should be higher. I think 21's a little bit low. I think, obviously everybody thinks he's this generational talent. I do worry about the coaching, though. I don't know if Urban, I don't know. I'm a little worried.
Yeah. No, I've talked about this before. We've seen, and please, if you remember or can think of others, tell me, because I've tried on this show on the fly thinking of some that I can remember in the last 20 years, college coaches that have made the leap and been successful. Obviously, there's been more throughout history, but in the last 10 to 20 years, the only one I can really think of is Pete Carroll, and he took 2 times. He went from college to the pros, failed, then went back to USC, killed it at USC, and then now he's been very good with Seattle. And now we'll see if Matt Rule can, buck that trend with Carolina after what he did with Baylor.
Bill O'Brien went to playoffs.
That's true. Bill O'Brien from Penn State had a good
he's
run.
Fired now, but yeah,
he had a run.
He had a run. Yeah.
He then destroyed Houston with his. They should have just never made him, GM. Also, that's what really.
Yeah, that was the wrong move.
Him as a coach wasn't terrible, but okay. So outside of those, there really haven't many. So all I'm trying to say is, Urban Meyer, arguably one of the best college coaches of all time, but just crowning him as all of a sudden this great NFL coach, we don't know yet.
Yeah, and it's not like he's even coming fresh off the sideline. The dude's been out of coaching for a little bit, and I'm not saying it's like you lose it after just he's still got it, but
yeah.
This isn't what he's used to. He's in a whole different ballgame. And there's already been stuff we've seen draft tendency-wise, and even, with the whole ETN taking wide receiver. It's just those are questionable things that sometimes you just, they're just things you don't do.
And I think he chose Jacksonville. Obviously, they offered him, I think, the most money. And I know the Chargers nationally aren't considered this great organization yet. I think they're getting much better and getting recognized more. But just being in LA, he would be scrutinized way more. I think he chose Jacksonville because I can go down there. It's close to where I was successful at University of Florida. It's kind of a forgotten organization. Honestly, after he was hired, there was a good month span where I kind of forgot that he was even in the NFL. And I'm like, oh yeah, Urban Meyer's the coach of Jacksonville. I forgot about that.
Yeah, honestly, it kind of, the draft sparked it. I was just like, oh yeah, Urban.
Yeah.
But yeah, the bar's low, right? The bar's low. So,
and they haven't done much there.
If you're going to do it there, right?
Yeah. The bar's low for him and Trevor Lawrence, and considering their best quarterback since Mark Brunell has been Blake Bortles. So, no offense to David Garrard, had some good year too, though. And Byron Leftwich. Obviously,
yeah, Leftwich. That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. But Blake Bortles was the one that went to the, AFC Championship game. So, hats off to him.
Who was the Mizzou quarterback they took? Blaine Gabbert.
Blaine Gabbert, yeah. Yeah. That didn't work out well.
Oops.
That didn't work out well. That was, if I remember right, that was just a bad draft class for the quarterbacks.
I don't remember what class that was, but I'm sure it wasn't Jake Locker in that
one. I
think
Jake Locker was in that. Yeah, it was just not I think Christian Ponder. Just, overall not.
Yeah, not one of the best. No offense, guys, but
yeah.
Didn't Gabbert just win a ring though? Wasn't he the backup in Tampa?
Yeah, he was. So yeah,
well, there you go. Dude got a ring.
Yeah. So he's been all over the place. So, all right, going to 20. And this is why this rankings, you got Daniel Jones at 20. This, I don't
get it.
Have above. I don't know why you'd have him above even Garoppolo, definitely Goff, definitely Wentz, even Drew Lock. I don't know really what has shown. And if you're going strictly off projections, which again, this list is very inconsistent with that.
Yeah.
You're basing this ranking on Daniel Jones making a big leap. And again, the last sentence, make a big leap forward. So you're ranking, but they haven't done that with other, I don't know.
Yeah, what numbers did they put in to that told them that? They don't use
Darnold
the same.
10 out of 10 times over Daniel Jones.
Yeah, so would I. Daniel Jones is he might be a good quarterback, but we just haven't seen it yet. He doesn't belong number 20. Like, he just doesn't. There's no way he should. And there's nothing, and I don't even know what they're watching for them to say that. Like, they have to be watching something else. They have to have game tape that I don't have access to.
I know. Yeah. And I think Daniel Jones could potentially take a leap forward. But
I do too.
If you think that about Daniel Jones, why don't they think that about Drew Lock? When Drew Lock gets his starting receiver back, Cortland Sutton didn't play a game, playing the second year in the system, like Daniel Jones is now playing the second year in his system. Like, if you're projecting these things based on talent around him, you can't do it for one in the. I mean,
I don't know.
Sam Darnold, bizarre. Anyway,
Very
these top
bizarre.
20 quarterback rankings are brought to you by Brewery X. Coach, I know you're not a big beer guy, but have you been to Brewery X in Anaheim? It's right by you. Your neck of the woods. Have you been down there?
I can't say I have.
It's on the La Palma Beer Trail, right next to Honda Center and Angel Stadium, right off the 57 freeway. So you got to check it out. They got over 30 beers on tap, over 10 hard seltzers. They have something they call hardest seltzers, 10% ABV, basically a mixed drink in a can. They have one. I know you drank these well, maybe you didn't. No, I'm going to say you did. You drank these. Did you drink Jungle Juice in college?
No.
I'm going to say you did. You drink Jungle Juice in college? Let me ask you again. Did you drink Jungle Juice in college?
That's the stuff you make in the bathtub.
Yes.
Yes, I did drink Jungle Juice.
So lucky for you, if you want to relive that hangover on a Sunday night, Brewery X has that in a tall can, one of their hardest seltzers, Jungle Juice. They got 9 other ones. And a bunch of actually delicious beers on tap, bunch of delicious sell everything. Like, they're awesome guys, local, kind of family owned. I say family owned, but it's a bunch of buddies that started it. They all, played high school football around here. Awesome dudes. You got to check them out. Brewery X. We'll have the link in the description below, where you can order online or you can pick curbside pickup. They got great food too. Stop in for lunch. Tell them the guys at LAFB sent you. They know who we are. They'll say what up. So head over there. Moving on. What are we on? 19 now?
Yes, sir.
We're moving like the good old days, just nice and slowly down these lists.
Right? I think we're on hour 19.
Yeah. We're hour 10 into this. So here we go. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 19. I love Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think, he gives a spark to this Washington football team who really has no other options at quarterback. Yeah. I think Taylor Heineke is their next choice, who is former XFL quarterback. Yeah. But, Fitzy is a spark. Would I have him at 19?
No.
Probably not.
He's the best quarterback on the Washington football team. I'll say that. I don't know how many other teams you could say that about. And all the respect in the world for Fitzmagic. And he just seems to prove people wrong everywhere he goes. He might do the exact same thing here in Washington. But 19 is way too lofty for my taste.
Yeah. Speaking of Magic, the wife and the daughter had to come say hi there. So there you go. Those watching on YouTube.
That's life.
Yeah, exactly. So, I love Fitzpatrick, but 19. I think I don't know what you're basing that on. Guy that played half the season for Miami, and I don't know. Again, why these rankings are a little bizarre. Yeah. Joe Burrow at 18.
I think that's pretty good, based on what we've seen, and then what obviously the injury, and that throws a lot of question marks about Burrow and how he can bounce back. We've all seen the picture with the scar, and but he's got Jamar Chase, and I'm sure that's I don't know. Jonah, what's the left tackle there? Jonah Williams, is that his name?
Yeah, Jonah Williams.
They must trust him. And I don't know who they have on the right side there. I know Bobby Hart used to be, but I thought they cut him. And
I think you're right. Yeah, I don't know who their right tackle is, but yeah.
Serious. I don't agree with the whole Penei Sewell not drafting him, but whatever. But no, Joe Burrow, I think 18 is pretty good. I think he's gonna. I hope he bounces back. A lot of this might just be hopefulness, because I really do like Joe Burrow, and I think he's a cool cat. But 18's fine. I'm fine with it. Yeah,
I think it's fair too, just considering how the season ended for him, situation he's in. I thought he played very well as a rookie. Didn't, but number 1 overall pick. I think it's a fair spot. Don't got much to add to it.
Yeah, same.
All right, Kyler Murray. I know you got mixed emotions to this guy, so I'm excited to hear you talk about Kyler. To me, I'll just start off. I think it's a little low, just based on I didn't love him coming out of college. I know we were in agreement there. Didn't think he should have been the first overall pick. when they had Josh Rosen, who still crazy to me that guy now is on his like third team and is like a practice squad player. I thought he would have at least, been given a shot, a fair shot to be a starter in this league. But I think Carter's played well. His biggest thing is, consistency. Can he truly stay healthy? I know last year he looked great early on and then, kind of got hurt mid-season and, still played through it, but just wasn't his true self. And is he able to continue with the accuracy? And so I think there's still a lot of question marks, but 2 years in, I think he's looked better than 17, I think. But at the same time, I don't think it's horrible.
Yeah, no, I agree. And yeah, in terms of draft prospects where I've missed, Kyler Murray is my biggest swing and miss, and I'll be the first to admit that. I was so low on this dude and so harsh on him, but yeah, the dude's a great football player. He's a good quarterback, so I would have him much higher. I don't know if a lot of people would agree with me. I doubt it, but I would have him as a top 10 quarterback.
Okay, all right. No, it's good to hear that. I don't know if I'd go top 10. Just we'll get to it, but trying to think of everyone I'd have in front of him. But I would definitely have him higher than 17. And yeah, I respect that you admit that you were wrong.
Yeah,
I was wrong too. I wasn't as hard on him as you were, but
yeah,
I was
pretty hard on him.
Yeah, you were not a fan of his.
No, I was not a Kyler Murray fan. I thought he should have been playing with the A's, but
I would definitely have him above Ben Roethlisberger. That's 100% sure. Who is
on,
at 16? Again, this is
that's ridiculous.
I don't. We keep, if you're listening, you hear the crackles in our voices because we're kind of a lot of this. Like I said, we've looked before, but I didn't have it memorized. So now seeing as we go up the list, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see us going through this list, and now seeing Ben, and you're like what told you that Ben Roethlisberger is better than Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, even all the way down to 29 Sam Darnold? It's just the name. That's all this has to be.
Of course it is, and it's the start they had. It's the recency
I
bias.
put Jared Goff in front of Ben Roethlisberger.
I would too,
based on where he's at right now in his career.
Ben. Yeah, I mean, there's no way he's in the top half of NFL quarterbacks. He's just simply not. And
he's probably a Hall of Famer, but at this point in his career, no.
No, he's a surefire Hall of Famer. But yeah, I mean, I would consider taking Fitzpatrick over this guy.
Yeah, based off now seeing this name, I may have Ben Roethlisberger at 32.
Yeah, I mean, I would still put the Saints guys below him, but
I'd probably put Cam below him too.
Cam, I would probably have above him. There's a lot of guys I would rank above Ben. Ben is low in my book.
Yeah, not 16. Not 16.
Like this is crazy. I know he's a well-respected guy. Oh man, probably not actually, but I know he's
on the football field.
On the football field, he's a very well-respected guy. Thank you, but he just come on, guys. Like, there's no way. There's no way.
I have no idea, and I'm not reading this whole blurb, but I have no idea where this. Because again, even last year their 11-0 start, and I really enjoyed Ben Roethlisberger as a football player, but he was not the reason they were 11-0 last year.
Were they the reason they were 11-0?
I think, there was a lot of reasons.
I mean, my word.
So, all right, here we get finally to our guy.
Yes.
Los Angeles quarterback, Justin Herbert. 15 for me.
Hear you go off on this one.
And I can't off the top of my head think of everyone in front of him. So again, we'll get to it more, and I'll probably get more fired up as we go down. Mm-hmm. But especially based on the way this list is going, but just based on what I watched, what I saw, there is no way in hell Justin Herbert is a mid-tier quarterback. Because when you're saying 15, you're saying middle of the road quarterback in the NFL. Rookie of the year, broke every single, I think except one, passing stat for rookies. Just, if you watched him play, made plays out there that made your jaw drop. I mean, I know we see with Mahomes in the same division, Herbert had those plays every week. They maybe just weren't on the winning end like the Chiefs have been. He's not Mahomes yet. He's not top 5. But there's no way in any planet that he is 15. I don't see it. No shot. Unless you're basing it off wins, which is a dumb stat to base the quarterback ranking off of.
I mean, no, I agree with you.
You can disagree with me.
No,
Don't be afraid.
He's top 10 in my book. I would have him top 10.
Yeah.
But I just want to hear you say it again. What told you?
Based on what the season did, what told you?
What told you?
Justin Herbert is a middle of the road quarterback.
Come on, he's much higher. Let's go. Come on, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
Because again, what that tells me is they're basing that off of only 15 games experience. But then they're taking 3 quarterbacks that have never played a down and ranking them higher than quarterbacks that have played. You can't have it both ways. Either you have all your rookies at the very bottom of the list, and then you kind of go up through that, use that as your model, or you base it on purely what we've seen on the field. And Justin Herbert, from what we saw in 15 games, is a hell of a lot better than I'm pretty sure, again, we haven't got to him yet, but from what I can tell, just by going through my head, Kirk Cousins is going to be ahead of Justin Herbert. Derek Carr is going to be ahead of Justin Herbert. Dak Prescott's going to be ahead of Justin Herbert. I don't see it.
Because it's not there. You're not missing anything. Like, it's just not there. These guys are just wrong. Like, I'll
get fired up on this one.
Do it, man. Like, this is why it's flawed. Like, there's common sense. Anybody who knows and understands what football should look like and what a successful team and quarterback looks like Justin Herbert and the Chargers, like, I get it. They every year they're the AFC champions, right? Like, every single year. I'm not gonna jump on that hype train, but Herbert is a damn good quarterback. The Chargers have a really good roster, and the fact that these guys are sitting here saying, well, yeah, he's probably borderline top half quarterback. No. If he's borderline anything, he's borderline top 10. Like, I think he's top 10. He's probably maybe like 8 or 9, but definitely top 10. But 15 is just too low. And
with the historically worse offensive line, injuries that they had to their, receivers, and, Austin Eckler missing 8 games, who was their starting running back, and what he was able to do. And
if we're being honest, and if we're going to talk rankings, like, the receiving group for the Chargers is not ranked that high in terms of what other teams have to offer. Yeah, Keenan Allen is a stud, and Mike Williams makes plays every now and then, but really, and Guyton, is he the other one? I know he's made some plays, but
and Tyron Johnson,
So it's not like he has this. I think Drew Lock has much better weapons.
Yeah, no, a lot of guys do. Yeah,
so you put Justin Herbert on the Denver Broncos, and but I think as a team, Chargers. Well, I don't know. But Herbert, I like Herbert a lot, and this is just ignorant to have him at 15, in my opinion.
Makes no sense. In fact, the matter is he may regress a little bit. I mean, it's hard to do what he did with how historic a season he had, but even a regression is still better than 15.
But what? And just curious, what regression are we talking? Stat regression? Because stat regression didn't always necessarily mean team regression.
No, I think the team would be better. Yeah.
So if the team goes further, but he's throwing for 200 fewer yards and 3 fewer touchdowns.
Yeah, who cares?
Who gives a exactly. Who cares?
Yeah.
So, and that and I think that's the other thing. They take wins into consideration here? I don't know what the formula is. If a quarterback throws for 40 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, but they win 2 games, which, granted, if you're doing that, you're not winning 2 games, but I get it. But you know what I'm saying, though? Like,
well, they have to if Herbert's 15. That's the only way. It makes no sense. Or because the only other thing I can think of, and I know Chargers fans, for the most part, because we talked to them a lot, hate Pro Football Focus, because all year they found some random thing to bag on Justin Herbert. And I think it's because they were so down on him in the draft process. And the entire outlet was like, this guy is going to be a bust. And the fact that he totally proved them wrong, I think they were just finding ways to bring him down. And maybe this is just another extension of that. Well, statistically, who knows? It makes no sense.
That makes them and I'm not trying to throw daggers, but man, if that's really the way they approach things, that's a pretty poor way to operate.
Yeah.
We said this, so let's curve our writing to make us look right.
Like literally if you read the blurb, even the only poor thing they say is he tended to pass better when hurried than when kept clean. Like if that's their knock on a guy.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on. Okay. Fair enough. I brought him up. 14, Kirk Cousins.
There he is. I don't agree. Lower. He's probably low. I wouldn't say much lower, but he's probably quite a bit lower.
Yeah. I'd have him like in that 15, 16. I think he's a mid-tier quarterback.
Do you? I mean, I don't know. I think his best years are far behind him, and I think we've seen the best football that we're going to see out of Kirk Cousins. And I think each year we see him, he's just going to get worse. There's no bounce back coming for this guy I don't think so. He's over 30 now, isn't he? I think so. I mean, he was drafted in 12.
Yeah, same year as Griffin and
Luck. Yeah.
Luck. So that would have been 12, I think, because Cam was 11.
So this will be his ninth, almost 10th year in the league. So yeah, he's got to be
31, 32, 33-ish.
Yeah. So I think it's too high. Again, when you factor in and granted, Justin Jefferson is a heck of a young talent, and I know they got they still have Adam Thielen and stuff like that. But come on, Kirk Cousins,
yeah,
best football's behind him, and I just don't know what is on film and what we common sense, what we've seen from other quarterbacks in terms of regression. Like, how do we not think Kirk Cousins is going to be any better than what he's been?
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't see how you see him better than Justin Herbert.
No, he's not the quarterback that's going to get you over the hump, unfortunately, at this point.
No, I don't think so. So, all right. And there's Derek Carr at 13, who had a very good year to start last year and then kind of tapered off down the line. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think middle of the road is fair for him. I think 13 is probably too high. I would do more of that 16, 17, 18 range. Again, when you're looking at guys who are ranked below him, I would probably take Sam Darnold above Derek Carr. I would probably take Carson Wentz above Derek Carr. Derek Carr is going to give me probably more consistency and a safety net, but Carson Wentz has that higher ceiling. Yeah, it could be a horrible decision and flame out, but is Derek Carr going to win you at all? Again, we don't really know because the Raiders haven't really given him much to work with. Kind of feel bad for the guy. They really haven't done. They built him an offensive line and they just tore it down. Really hasn't had. He had Amari Cooper. They traded him away. They haven't really had like great receiving weapons. So yeah, I think he's a good quarterback, not great. Middle of the road. I think 13 is a little high. I would go probably a few spots down.
Yeah, 13's too high. I would have him somewhere in the 20s. I think I'm not a fan of Derek Carr at all, and I do agree that it's not like he's had a plethora of guys around him, but yeah, he has a ceiling, and that ceiling is everybody knows what it is.
Yeah,
and it's 13 is not where he should be.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. Well, I don't know why I'm surprised at this list anymore. So, 12, Ryan Tannehill. This one sounds bad, but I'm actually okay with it. I think everyone thinks of Ryan Tannehill from the Miami days, and they get a sour taste. But he's actually been very good with Tennessee. I know they have like a run-first offense. Obviously, Arthur Smith now is gone, but Derrick Henry is kind of the focal point of that, so he's able to work off of that. But he's been very good since he's been there. Make the playoffs. I think since he's taken over starting for Tannehill or starting for Mariota, they made the playoffs every year that he's been the starter, and I think he's played well. I think, I'd probably have him a little lower, but I don't think 12 is like horrible. I definitely would have Herbert ahead of him. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Herbert ahead of Carr for sure. And Tannehill, I would have Herbert above, but I think this spot, and like I said, I think we've said this before, but this spot for Tannehill, I'm fine with. I'm actually really okay with this. But I just think they have other guys too low, like Herbert. I would have Herbert above Tannehill, but Tannehill at 12, I think that's pretty accurate. I think that's a good spot for him.
And I think Tannehill is one of the best stories for A, takes time to develop, B, situational, means everything for a quarterback.
Yeah.
Because you look at his Miami days, if he didn't get released or, didn't re-sign or, Gase was fired and he moved on, he could never be playing quarterback in this league again. And here he is now, a top-rated QB, been in the playoffs, just got a big payday with the Titans. And so you see all these quarterbacks that everyone wants to write off after 1 season, 2 seasons, and it's like, dude, there's some play that you can see and you're like, okay, this guy does not have it. And there's some that you're like, okay, they just need to get the consistency down or get this down. And so many people want to move on so fast, but Tannehill's like the best story as opposed to, we'll see other quarterbacks too in this top 10. That same thing. Like, look at what happens when you give a quarterback time. Like, who would have thought?
Yeah. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. So I think that 12 is around that area is pretty fair.
Yeah.
All right. Finally get to the Rams quarterback, Matthew Stafford at 11. I'll let you start and I'll counter. How do you like this ranking for Stafford?
I think it's great. This is probably about exactly where I'd have him. I don't think he's top 10, but he's fringe, right? Like we've seen him do some really good things. He had some really good numbers when he had Calvin Johnson, and but really that's kind of all he's ever had. Detroit has just been kind of purgatory, it feels like, for Stafford, and he, even though he's had kind of individual success, that just hasn't translated into wins, and that's nothing against Stafford. He's done everything he possibly can for that organization, and now that he's getting a new life and a new chance in Los Angeles with the Rams, I think he's going to have a remarkable year. Anything short of a Pro Bowl, I think, is probably a disappointment at this point with what they've done, adding all these vast array of weapons and while the offensive line is, they performed really well last year. Whitworth is a big question mark with his injury history and his age, but I love what they're doing with Edwards and the other young guy,
Bobby Jones or Bobby Evans.
Evans, thank you, Evans, and So I think and Corbett and Havens, I think they have a really solid offensive line, and those guys stay healthy. And Matthew Stafford, I think he does. His skill set is exactly what McVay wants, and what they tried to do with Goff, they're going to be able to do with Stafford, and they're going to be able to do it efficiently. And I think this Rams offense is really going to look a lot different and look a lot better. And then obviously that's going to fuel the and this Rams team might be pretty scary in the West. It's just if that offensive line holds up or not is the biggest issue there. But I think they can.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree, and I think this is a fair spot too. I think at the end of this coming season, we could see Stafford rank a lot higher, but based on what we know from the past, based on what we've seen from the previous year or so with Detroit, I think this is fair for where he sits with the quarterbacks that we're going to see ahead of him. This is a perfect, I've talked a ton about this on the show. This is a perfect situation for him in LA. He's going to, a great deep ball passer, which is what the Rams have been lacking. And obviously adding Tutu Atwell in the draft, and Deshaun Jackson in free agency, we're going to be able to see them just kind of air it out and, have a lot of fun out there. And I think he's going to be rejuvenated, 33 years old, but I think he's going to play like a 29-year-old in this system with Sean McVay as his, I think he's the same age. So they're just going to have, a lot of fun, and it's a good fit, but based on what we've seen the last year, I think 11's fair. But I do think based on what they're able to do this year, we could see him for sure be in the top 10, top 8 next year going into these rankings. But I think this is fair for now.
Yeah, I could see it. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. Considering Calvin Johnson played with Matthew Stafford, but is this already the best receiving core that Stafford's ever played with?
That's a good question. I love Bobby Trees. I love Cooper Kupp. I love the additions they have in the offseason. I think Van Jefferson's going to have a breakout year. And this isn't a knock on Stafford, but he's actually had some good receivers in his day. I don't think it's been a lack of receiver talent. I mean, Kenny Golladay was considered a great receiver. Marvin Jones, obviously mentioned Calvin Johnson, had some others as well. I just think whether it was his offensive coordinator selling him short, whether it was the head coaching turnover. I mean, he's had quite a few head coaches. Obviously they had zero running game his entire time there, which it's hard to, utilize good receivers if you have no running game to back it up. But if I'm going to get an answer overall from number 1 to number 4, I think this is his best receiving core from straight up. If you're looking at the best receiver, obviously it's Calvin Johnson. If you're looking at your top tandem, you might go Golladay, Marvin Jones. I'm not saying I am, but people might do that. But from 1 to 4 and consistency, I think this has to be. And then you look at what his offensive coordinator and Sean McVay is going to do to help him. The running game with Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson. This is by far the best offense I think he's played for.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've done the study behind Stafford, much more than I would ever know. I just feel like when he had Calvin, there was just never a number two because when they're, and this may have been even at or before Stafford got there, and I think it was, but when they went through those 3 years in a row where they took a first round receiver and like none of them panned out. I think that was actually before Stafford.
It was before like Roy Rogers and Mike Williams and yeah.
Did you just say Roy Rogers? Do you mean
Roy
Charles
Williams.
Rogers?
Charles
Roy
Williams.
Williams and
Roy Williams. They took
Roy
Roy Williams,
Rogers.
Charles Rogers, and Mike Williams. It was those three.
Wasn't that an old country singer, Roy Rogers?
Yeah. It was
That's
also
awesome.
it was also a Coke and cherry drink. If you're getting Coke with cherry, it's a Roy Rogers, like a Shirley
Coke
Temple with Coke.
Like, really? It's
You never
called
knew that?
a Roy Rogers.
Yeah, go to any restaurant, order a Roy Rogers. It's Coke with cherry, like Shirley Temple.
I'll be darned. I did not know that. All right. But yeah, I think we're in agreement. Yeah, Matthews, dude, I'm not a, I'm a big football fan, and I'm excited to see what Stafford and the Rams can do because I love Cam Akers. I love Cooper Kupp. There's guys that they have that I'm big fans of, and I think Stafford is a good quarterback, and I think he's going to do good things with what they have to offer.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. Yeah, just seeing the photos of him at OTAs and stuff. I know fans are fired up, so it's going to be a lot of fun seeing what they're able to do, and he'll definitely cement himself as this was a great trade for the Rams. Good trade for both teams, like we said earlier. But all right, moving into the top 10, and this is brought to you by our friends at Garrison Brothers. I know you're a big Jack Daniels guy, Talon, but you got to try Garrison Brothers whiskey based out of High Texas. But you can get it anywhere here in LA. Total Wine, Bevmo. You can order it right on their website. We'll have a link in the description where you can go to order. I'm actually sipping on right now a honeydew Garrison Brothers whiskey. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
Still got that nice whiskey, smoky bourbon flavor with a nice subtle honeydew flavor.
I take your whiskey recommendations very seriously. So if you recommend Garrison, I'm there's no other option. I have to hop on board, and I'm going to give it a try.
Yeah.
When it comes to whiskey, there's not a lot of people listen to more than you, and that's straight up fact.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, we'll get you some for sure. Garrison Brothers. It's for the price, one of the best. I know they are compared in, profile to Pappy Van Winkle, which is like $1,400 a bottle. So when you get compared in that echelon, it's pretty solid stuff. So
For sure.
Garrison Brothers, make sure to check them out. Like I said, link in the description below to find out where to purchase. Tell them the guys at LAFB sent you. All right, Coach, into the top 10 we go. Our guy Baker at 10. What do you think?
I love it. I have no issue with it. That's probably exactly where I'd have him, to be honest with you. I'd probably have him right at 10.
Yeah, I think he's good at 10. I wouldn't hate seeing Stafford at 10, Baker at 11. I had no problem with that, but I have no problem with Baker at 10. I know there's a mixed bag on Baker, but overall, I think he's a very, very solid quarterback. Obviously, he has great weapons, great offensive line, so some people will take that, as a knock because he's got a great talent around him. But overall, I think he's very good. Again, let me ask you this. If you're starting a franchise right now, you're taking Justin Herbert or Baker Mayfield?
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Dang, yeah, that's tough. Like that, I'm gonna say Justin. I think I would probably go with Justin, but man, there's just something about Baker's swag that no, he doesn't always he's not always the best football player, but dude, he might want it more than anybody else in the field at all times. So I don't know. I really like and respect Baker Mayfield. I think he's a heck of a competitor, but yeah, that would be a tough decision. That's tough, man. If those two are in the same draft class, that's a tough decision.
Real tough. Yeah. And I love Baker. He was both of our consensus number one the year he came out after watching all the film. But after what we've seen in the NFL so far, I might lean Herbert. And basically, I'm asking this question just showing that, yes, I think we both think at this point Herbert should be in the top 10. Whether it's 9, 10, 11 between him, Baker, and Stafford, they're all so close. If you're going just for intangible, I think the size and the arm talent, Justin may be a little higher than Baker. But for what they've been able to do, and obviously Baker, going to the playoffs, winning a game, taking the Chiefs to the brink, you maybe lean a little bit more that way. Hard to say. Both are great. I might lean a little Justin. Maybe that's bias after covering them.
They both took Mahomes to the brink.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is, okay. So here we go. This is the guy we can immediately, I think we can agree to take him out of the top 10. And nothing against Matt Ryan for his career. there's no way at this point in his career Matt Ryan's number 9 in the NFL, right? Am I crazy, or do you think he is?
No, I don't think you're crazy. I think, and again, he's got Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, and they just drafted Kyle Pitts, and he's got an unbelievable array of talent. And for that, that's going to boost his stock. But I don't think this is what – I don't know what – I feel like they have a different formula for each player.
Right? How is Matt Ryan ahead of even Matt Stafford and then obviously Justin Herbert? In what world is he ahead of both those guys?
Like I said, I think in my opinion, the only reason he would be is because of the guys he's throwing to. And they're such an upgrade over a lot of other teams. But again, Matt Ryan is a good quarterback.
Yeah,
yeah. No, he's not better than. I mean, when you say better, I don't know. He's in a better situation than a lot of quarterbacks, but I don't know. I would not put him above Herbert. I would not put him. I'm not going to say probably. I would not put him above Stafford. It's not going to be a big difference, but I still think Stafford's a better quarterback than Matt Ryan.
Yeah, and I know, Matt Ryan finished 4th in the NFL in passing yards last year, so maybe that's what they're looking at. But, he threw 26 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, which is barely better than what Jared Goff did. And Jared Goff gets hated on, a little worse. Obviously, I think Goff was 20-13, but you still have that double-digit interception to mid-20 touchdown ratio. I mean, it went to the Super Bowl, so maybe they're banking on that, but he lost in one of the worst, blown leads in NFL history. Not saying that's all his fault, but
right.
And I like Matt Ryan a lot. I think he's still a good quarterback, absolutely. But just seeing him above Baker, Stafford, Herbert, I don't see how. To me, he's like Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins right now. Maybe he's better than those two, but he's in that I think that tier.
Yes, I agree. I think he's in that. He's better than those guys, but yeah, he's in that Stafford, Tannehill conversation like that. He's with those guys.
Yeah. So
he's not top 10.
Yeah, not top 10. All right, Lamar Jackson. I feel like we're in fairly agreement with him. Lamar Jackson, former MVP, great quarterback. We saw some struggles last year. It seemed like 2 years ago he was the unanimous. It was Mahomes and him. And then now, obviously, based on this list, 8, but not even just this list. I think a lot of people not have soured, but have said, okay, we'll take a step back. We see that, maybe his style can get figured out a little bit. Probably the best athlete in the NFL, bar none, but just straight quarterback. Would you have him top 5 or is 8 fair?
I would have him top 5, but he belongs in the top 10. He's done enough to warrant that. He's a very successful. And no, he's not the traditional guy, and there's a lot of knocks and voids in his game. But the dude's a competitor. Yeah. The dude wins football games, and he's, even though he's not traditional, he is good enough at what he does to make him dangerous and to give you a winning edge in certain situations. So is he everything you want in a quarterback? Absolutely not. But really who on this list is. But no, I like this placement. I think it's good. Yeah. Top 5 is too lofty, even though he's a former MVP, but definitely a top 10 consideration.
Yeah, I think 8 is fair. I think obviously the biggest knock on him is I think the yards per attempt or so is like one of the last in the league. Just some of the passing woes they had down the stretch. If they're not in the lead, they have a hard time coming back with his style. And once he's one dimensional, struggles a bit. Not saying he can't do it, but obviously isn't what we see when they have a lead. They're a very different team.
Yeah,
and he's a very different quarterback. So, but at this point, from what we've seen, from what he's proven, I think it's fair. He's definitely top 10 at this point. I mean, until he hasn't had a bad year. I mean, he's had some games where you're like, the haters are like, oh, look, he's exposed, but he's still putting up like 280 and 100 on the ground. So he's still not like a bad quarterback. He just, it isn't Mahomes.
Yeah, no, exactly. I totally agree. He's a really good quarterback, but this guy's better.
Yeah. So we'll see. Okay. Dak Prescott at 7. I don't want to just roll my eyes, but I have nothing against Dak. I have nothing against Dak. I really hope he bounces back from this injury and, plays great, but he is not a top 7. I don't even think he's a top 10 quarterback.
No, he's top 15 at best. I don't know if maybe they're thinking the fall off from success when he got hurt. They're thinking like, whoa, this dude is actually, I don't know. But again, I don't know. No, he's not. He's not 7.
So
I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know
because we watch a lot of football, Coach, and
a little bit, yeah.
And I'm not saying the guy that made this is. I think actually I didn't even look at the author, but I think I read somewhere that it's former quarterback that actually made this list. So I don't want to knock his credibility. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I remember seeing who the author of this was. But the fact that if they're going to have Matthew Stafford at 11, which I'm assuming is more based on team success, wins, and whatnot. Mm-hmm. How can you have Dak at 7 when the only time they've had any team success was when they had the number 1 offensive line in the NFL? Ezekiel Elliott rushed for over 1,400 yards. They have one of the best receiving cores in the NFL. And then when they didn't, yes, he put up better stats when their team was worse, but they were a horrible team.
Right.
So I just don't see where that comes from.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, he's a perfectly decent quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to tell him I'm hating the guy, but not 7.
Yeah, no, there's no logical reason he should be there. Yeah, and that's the problem with the PFF. Sometimes I don't know. Logic gets thrown out, and you can't do that.
Again, if they're basing it on statistical success, then Herbert would be top 10. Yeah. And I think Herbert should be top 10 even more than that because we saw just his athletic ability, his arm talent, some of the windows he threw balls into. But yet for him, it was, no, he was better against pressure than he was with a clean pocket, so we're going to put him at 15. But with Dak, he has a good offensive line and put up good numbers, even though the team was awful, we'll put him at 7.
It's almost like, because I think I remember in his little blurb that they said, will he regress in year 2 or will he thrive with better protection? Like, what?
Yeah.
What quarterback's going to do worse with better protection? Unless they're saying he's better on the run. So it's well, now that they have a better offensive line, he's going to struggle because he's better on the run.
Yeah. And again, which might lead to worse statistical success, but if it's better team success,
yeah.
Baker Mayfield had a better statistical year, I think, a few years ago than he did last year, but he's top 10 this year, and he wasn't 2 years ago.
But again, I mean, if that's maybe that's PFF's goal, and I'm sure it is. I mean, they're individual. It has to be. They don't. I mean, I don't know if they're great teams as a whole. I've never seen it, but yeah, if it's just strictly individual, and this is what this guy provides. All right, whatever, dude. Do your rankings, but it's not. It works for what your purpose is, but for the purposes of an actual real life football situation, this list makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, which again, if they did that though, just individual statistics, Justin Herbert would not be 15. He'd be top 10, considering he in 15 games finished top 7 in passing. Yeah. So he finished above Aaron Rodgers in pass yards.
The dude's good. There's a couple of good quarterbacks in LA.
Bizarre. Okay. 6, Josh Allen. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there's arguments there for him to be top 5.
Yeah.
I think he probably deserves top 5. I'm trying to think who they would have above him right now, and
we'll try to we'll show this more quickly so we can go through these 5. So
definitely above that guy. And
you would have Allen above Watson,
and
not based on any of his.
No, not based on any outside interference. Strictly football player guidelines. Yes, give me Josh Allen above Deshaun Watson.
Okay, I'm not there yet, just because Watson's been consistent for 3 years. It's been very good, and Allen has had 1 amazing season and 2 very, very bad ones. If Allen does that,
I wouldn't say last year was, or whatever, not last year, but the year before. I wouldn't say he's had 2 very, very bad seasons. I think he's been
his first 2 years. He was 52% completion and 54%, and threw for under 3,000 yards both years.
But again, he was a rookie and a second-year guy. Is that really, really bad for a rookie and a second-year guy, or is that really, really bad for a guy that's been in the league for 10 years?
No, I agree with you that, yes, obviously they made the right choice by sticking with him. I just, after that leap from year 2 to 3, where he was a potential MVP last year, and I think he's a top 6 quarterback. I just don't know if I can put him above Watson yet. If he does that again this year, then with his intangibles, with his size, with what he can do, I can maybe put him above. But Watson's he led the league in passing last year, and he's been top 5 for 3 years straight.
Sure, and he did lose his primary target. And I get it, and that's fair. That's a definite fair assessment. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's the progression for me, and like exactly what you said, that year 2 to 3 jump. Like, okay, this something clicked now, right? Like, okay, here we go. Josh Allen's about to be a stud, So I think it's just going to get better.
Yeah, and I think he will too. And if he does, then for sure, then I will supplant him above some of these other top 5 guys. Sure. But as of now, which is these 2, I think that's fair. Watson 5, Allen 6.
I got you.
Wilson 4. I don't probably think I'm pretty sure we won't have a huge problem with these top 5.
I would have him high. I would have him 3. I mean, I know who doesn't belong in this group.
Yeah, I agree. We'll get to him in just a minute.
Sure, but this is outside of that 1. I think this is pretty accurate.
Yeah, Wilson 4, Rodgers 3,
and there's the problem.
Yeah,
there's the problem.
So yeah, Brady is the GOAT, probably the greatest of all time. Obviously, the accolades, the yards, the stats, the Super Bowls, but he is not the second best quarterback in the NFL right now. No chance. Yeah, it's the Brady factor that he's Brady. Anytime you play him, you know how great he is. Yeah. But to say he's better than Aaron Rodgers, to say he's better than Russell Wilson, better than Deshaun Watson, even better than Josh Allen, we can go down this list, even better than I'd put him better than Dak Prescott, but he's not too. This is again weird rankings, but I think most lists would probably have him there just because it's that name thing, fear of ranking, fear of the onslaught of what you get if you ranked Brady as the 9th best quarterback, because that's probably what he is. He's probably 9th or 10th.
I would agree with
what
that.
He is as a quarterback today, not what he means to his team, not what he is as a winner, not what he is all time, but as a quarterback in 2021, he's not number 2.
No, and I totally agree. He is not number 2. He's coming off of a Super Bowl, and like you said, he is the greatest of all time. That argument against that, I think, died as soon as he won that game. There is no argument anymore. Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. Yeah. At this moment, he is the greatest of all time, and he may be supplanted in the future, but right now, that's his throne, and it's going to be his throne for a while. But you hit the nail right on the head. He is not. He's not even a top 5 quarterback, and he's for sure as hell not a top 2 quarterback.
Yeah.
Respect the hell out of the guy. He can still play at his age even, and he can play at a very elite level, but no, he is not number 2. And, he's just in an incredible situation with that defense, and he's got really good receivers. And granted, that team with Jameis Winston went 8-8. Tom Brady obviously propelled them to a Super Bowl. So
and they added pieces on that defense and
right, sure.
Yeah.
But Tom Brady is a good quarterback. He's not number 2.
No. Yeah. And don't let us get mistaken. He is a very good quarterback still today. And you said it. He's still an elite quarterback. But he's not number 2. Like if he would have, so when he was in free agency, his top 2 choices that everyone was reporting was the Chargers and the Buccaneers. If he would have chosen the Chargers would not have won the Super Bowl last year. It wasn't like wherever Brady went was winning the Super Bowl.
No, I'm not sure. And they might make that playoffs, I guess. That's not guaranteed either, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean,
the Chargers were good, but
yeah,
they just had a coaching change, right? Like that, I don't know. But obviously he went to the right situation.
Yep, he sure did. So very good. But not number 2. I'd have him in that 9, 10. I might even, if I'm going to get people hating me, I might even put him just outside the top 10 if I want to get real crazy. But I just, you look at situationally. And
it's worth a debate.
What these rankings are for.
That would be a fun debate to where he actually does belong. But obviously that's not going to happen.
Yeah. No. And hey, we can maybe do that another time, but we're pushing.
Exactly.
We're pushing 2 hours here. So
yeah. I'm telling you, I need a bathroom break.
Yeah, we'll wrap this up. We didn't even talk about your boy number 1, but it's just because it's no debate.
We don't need to. Everybody
is the best in the game right now.
Yeah. What are we going to say that's not been regurgitated a million times?
Yep. Best.
Everybody
in the game.
knows what he does. Yeah.
You guys, obviously, if you don't know, the coach is a Chiefs fan, so
born and raised, baby.
Very
born and raised.
That he has his franchise set for the next. I mean, 10 years contractually, but probably beyond that.
I hope so.
Yeah, and they're good to go. So, well, there you have it. Went through the whole thing. PFF's quarterback rankings, I would say, in my opinion, very poor quarterback rankings.
Yeah, they hit on a few, and they got, other than Tom Brady, they got a lot of the high numbers right. But other than that, yeah, there's a lot of holes.
Yeah, maybe because it is the offseason. Well, let's jump back on here maybe in a week or so. Let's off air make our rankings, and we'll go through that and compare them.
Let's do it. I'm all in.
See what we did. So we'll do. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure, dude. Obviously, we hang out. We're good friends. But tell all the listeners where they can find you at and where you're elsewhere when you're not jumping on with me.
Yes, sir. So on Twitter, and that's my mainstay. I'm not a big social media guy, but Twitter is where you're going to find me. But at Coach Graff 34 is my Twitter handle, and I'm also a part of the Draft Tech team. You can follow them at Twitter, and then also Chiefs Wire is my mainstay as well. I'm a big contributor over there.
There you go. Coach does articles and also on the podcast over at Chiefs Wire. So especially when the Chargers play the Chiefs, make sure to check him out, and we'll probably have him back on for sure in those two matchups to discuss that. So, well, yeah, thank you all for tuning in to this longer episode of the LA Football Podcast. But hey, a lot of stuff to dive into. You got 32 quarterbacks to go into, and Coach and I had to catch up a little bit. So hope you all enjoyed it. But my man, thanks so much for taking the time. Appreciate you as always.
Absolutely, man. Thank you, and have a good one, man. Give the best to the family.
Absolutely. We'll do. And we'll definitely catch up soon. And all of you out there listening, be safe, be healthy. This is the LA Football Podcast. Make sure to subscribe wherever you are listening. Subscribe to us on YouTube at LAFB Network if you have not already. If you want to see these ugly mugs on your computer screen, phone screen, TV screen, wherever you watch, we're on YouTube at LAFB Network. Thanks to our sponsors again, Manscaped, BetOnline, Brewery X, and Garrison Brothers Distillery. We'll talk to you guys all after the weekend. Enjoy it. We'll talk soon.